Hey y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show. Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another special live episode of Authentically Detroit. Broadcasting live from the Snyder inside of the Eastside Community Network, a content partner to BridgeDetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Davidson.
We want to thank you for joining us tonight for our special election watch party. We are so excited to bring in the results of the Michigan primary election tonight, and we have a special guest co-host with us tonight. He is the co-executive director of Detroit Action, born and raised Eastsider, still currently residing on the East Side, Branden Snyder.
Woo! What up, Donna? Welcome. So glad to be here. Appreciate y'all. I'm a West Sider now, unfortunately.
Oh gosh. We'll forgive you for that. We want to thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people on the east side of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. As you may know, today is the Michigan primary election day, especially here in the city of Detroit. In the city of Detroit, did you guys know? I think you do because you're smart people. Know that Detroit has the largest voter electorate in the state of Michigan.
That's right.
Yes.
We run the biggest election in the state of Michigan. So I'm excited. There's so much to talk about tonight. I first want to talk about your experience at the polls. So did everybody vote? Everybody vote today?
Yes.
Voted today.
Yes.
I didn't vote today. I voted on Saturday.
You voted on Saturday?
Yeah.
Donna, you voted today?
We did.
All right. How was it? Tell us about
great.
your experience.
So Kevin and I wore our Detroit versus Everybody t-shirts.
I see y'all.
And we walked to the polling location at your old school, Carson's and Remus Robinson.
Oh, that's my old stomping ground.
Right, we're old stomping grounds. And so we went in there to a completely empty gymnasium and stood in no line, and that was really good because one of our poll workers was a little bit confused about the process.
Oh, Lord.
But it was easy. People were trying to hand out little, pieces of material, East Side Slate and, Fannie Lou Hamer, whatever. But, when you pay to play,
Yeah.
I don't take it seriously.
For real.
So I rejected all materials.
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want any
just
materials.
on the basis of I understand what this is about. But anyway, it was good. It was a good experience. We got our, I voted stickers, and then we walked back home, and it was a good old-fashioned voting day, except for the fact that the precinct was empty.
You want to know what's funny? Our former colleague at Eastside Community Network, Marcus Summerall, said this today on Twitter, and I completely agree with him. He said, it's time for the generational tide to switch. We need to start volunteering at polling locations and on election day. Millennials, it's our turn to start working elections. And I think a millennial on this panel worked an election today.
I did. I worked. I was in Pontiac for a bit. I was working for Andy Levin and for his crew. And then I spent a little bit of time here in Detroit working on the west side for Rashida. And so it was,
you were working for the candidates. I thought you were actually like at a poll, polling.
No, not me. Well, so yeah, I worked for the candidate. But what we did do this year was we tried to connect some of our young people, who, since we weren't paying for people to work the polls, what we did do is have some of them, actively go down and work for the city, county, the clerk. And work for the poll. So that was one of the things that we did do this year. And I think, when you say that, I think that's like 100% right, because so many of our folks that do it year in, year out are, over...
They're baby boomers. And some Xers.
Yes. greatest
but not
generation
really.
folks.
Yeah, not really anybody younger than that.
Yeah, and I think like when we talk about moving towards, the digital process, when we talk about changing processes for fair and more inclusive elections, we have to be thinking about how do we bring in, young people to that process as well.
Yeah. Listen, there is so much to talk about. Donna, I also voted today, and I was number 19. I think I voted around 8:20 this morning. But my poll workers knew exactly what to do and how to guide me. I forgot my precinct number because, one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is this is the first election with the newly drawn maps, redistricting maps. And so I forgot my precinct number, but they reminded me, and I was able to vote in under 10 minutes. It was an in and out process. Like Donna, I rejected all campaign material and walk right by everybody. So Branden, if you were outside of my polling location, I would have walked past you. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Good. I think that, that's a service.
You know what? If you were outside of my polling location, you would have been passing out material for one of my candidates. Yeah. But unfortunately, the candidates you were supporting were not in our district. The reality is, I know who I'm supporting, and I'm not accepting literature from somebody I'm not supporting or from a slate that is not in agreement with my philosophies around, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, around the Black Democratic establishment in Michigan. Well, I'm going to go there. I don't know if I can take you with me.
I'm ready.
But the Black Democratic establishment in Michigan, which tends to favor middle-of-the-road, moderate Democrats, and rejects really progressive runs for office.
Yes.
Progressives have the privilege of running when they are not black. And that is really a problem, because as a black person trying to break into a progressive field and trying to move our electorate along with us, you're going against the 13th Congressional District, the 14th Congressional District, the Michigan Black Democratic Caucus, and all of these other caucuses who have decided that environmental activism is not a bread and butter issue for black people, despite climate injustice and climate racism, who have decided that housing and other types of injustices impacting really low-income and poor people are not really part of it. Instead, we should be focused on wealth building and the black family,
and so you are
supporting the sanctity of black men.
And you are de facto alienating an entire population of folks who need those progressive ideas. And so what? And so it
an
speaks
entire generation of black voters,
right? And it speaks to who the Democratic Party is really trying to reach. And I have this critique. I had this critique of Sherry Gay Danyogo, and we talked about it when we spoke to her on the podcast. And I had this critique of Adam Hollier, and we talked to him about it when he came on the podcast. The Democratic establishment takes the black vote for granted, so they think black folks are automatically going to vote for them, and their goal is to sway the moderate and undecided white voter. And so they use this middle of the road language. They adopt this narrative that we're going to work across the aisle to make that white undecided voter feel more comfortable because they feel like they got black folks in the bag. And I'm calling them out on that, because that language does not work in our community. That's not effective.
But it's bigger than that.
And philosophically, though, this is, you can see the sort of effects of this around donations. So when you look at organizations, when you look at candidates that try to do progressive things or try to think outside of that box, or even think of the candidates that operate in that box. Like, look at the donations that, just throw them out there, Adam Hollier is getting from an AIPAC versus that of a Haley Stevens. Their argument is that we don't need to worry about these black bases because we got them in the bag. We need to worry about white moderates mobilizing, white women in the suburbs, and that's it. And the problem becomes that it functions from a white supremacist notion that those are the voters that are most valuable, those are the ideas that are most valuable, and therefore we have to placate to those whims.
But there is a social conservative culture within black churches.
Yes.
And some of it is playing to that, right?
Yep.
Anti-LGBTQ, right? Anti-choice.
Yep.
Anti-reproductive freedom for women, and this need to reify and deify black men.
Yep.
And so when you start talking about gender equality, when you start talking about the equality of people across the gender expression spectrum, really what you're talking about is antithetical to what people consider to be the black base as well as to white voters. And the question is, how big is the black base when you have 20% of people voting? We have a whole bunch of people who are not part of that base because nobody is speaking to them. And that's across age groups, that's across income levels. And so to the extent that you have candidates that do speak to them, a lot of times those are the non-black candidates who are not really speaking to the black church.
Ushers, let Rashida Tlaib in the church.
Yes. Yes.
Ushers, open the doors for Rashida Tlaib.
Yes.
No, I mean, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And, we often talk about the progressive ideas that Rashida Tlaib brings to the table, and she's a part of the squad, and she has become a national figure here in the United States as being a part of the squad. And what we often hear is this amazing dichotomy of the love that she gets from her constituency in the streets,
black folks
versus black political elite and politicians who can't stand it.
Right. I mean, she came to our podcast about a month ago. And our young people loved everything she had to say. Young voters, but they're not quite voters. They were young people who are not quite voters. I think there is that distance. I think we just need to call it out. A lot of times we stay very careful in how we analyze what's going on in our community such that we really can't get to the issues. The other thing about Rashida Tlaib is everybody wants to complain about her use of the word MF and sometimes her controversial language, but Rashida Tlaib is a hell of a deal maker. Brenda and I were talking earlier about the fact that despite all of that, she's in Congress building relationships with people across the aisle to some extent. She's building relationships with people across the political spectrum. Last summer, she was here with Debbie Dingell and Bernie Sanders and building, talking about Build Back Better. And
Andy Levin.
And Andy Levin, thank you. I'm sorry, Andy Levin. And, nobody ever accused Debbie Dingell of being a, wild socialist, whatever, but she was able to build those types of relationships. So I think that she's got skills that people don't recognize. What somebody pointed out
to me, people don't value,
but also recognize because they look at things in a woman like she curses, and sometimes she can say things that are, from the hip, and they want us to be so polished and so well behaved. And we don't ever demand that kind of thing of men.
There was an article I read right after that Rashida MF scandal, and it talks about the fact that we can look to Coleman Young and we can look to other black political elected leaders over time who said much worse, but are are vilified and dignified as and lionized over time.
I'm sorry, but the streets love that, and the person that she was talking about has said and done so much worse. But while we're on the subject of Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, she is on the ballot today, and Detroit City Clerk Janice Winfrey is her opponent, who received a lot of PAC money to battle it out with Rashida Tlaib in this race. Branden, Donna, what do y'all make of it?
Well,
the 12th congressional race.
So far, Rashida Tlaib is, winning. She's got almost twice as many votes, or more than twice as many votes as Janice Winfrey. Yeah. But we don't know how Detroiters voted because we never do by this time. I'm hoping by the time our podcast ends, we have some clue.
We'll find out in the morning.
We'll find out in the morning. I mean, these are her credentials, okay?
Yes.
Every other race in the state has some votes recorded, but we don't have any clue what's happening in the city of Detroit.
We'll get around to it.
So, Detroit is a small segment of the voters in their district, but I think it really speaks to her lack of effectiveness. When I'm speaking of her, I'm speaking of Janice Winfrey. What is Janice Winfrey running on? What's her campaign positions? I don't even know what she's running on other than I'm a
she
black
got a lot of money
woman.
from that Bakari Sellers PAC.
The Bakari Sellers PAC, and there's another Wall Street dude that put up a bunch of money that we're sending out.
That wants black representation.
I wouldn't be
in
surprised
Congress.
if she got some APAC money somewhere.
APAC money came through.
Because I mean, Rashida Tlaib is antithetical to what a lot of people want to see in terms of Middle Eastern politics. But I mean, this is a person.
Did Janice run on her own volition, or did somebody run her? No, I'm really honestly asking. Like, I'm trying to understand.
I mean, if somebody was going to run somebody to go against Rashida Tlaib, and they said, I have an idea, let's make it Janice Winfrey. I just have to question.
Like, that's not a person you should be listening to. That's not a person to listen to.
The logic.
Don't make me laugh.
Wow. Now the other folks in the race.
There are some more folks. Who else is in the 12th congressional race?
Kelly Garrett, who is Kelly Garrett.
Kathy Garrett, the Wayne County clerk, right?
No, Kelly Garrett.
Kelly
is,
Garrett.
Family though.
Family. Sorry.
She's family. And God bless Kelly. Kelly is a nice person. I really like her. She's the mayor of Lathrop Village.
Yeah.
And she lost her son tragically last year to sickle cell disease. It was really tragic. He was like 21 years old. And so I have nothing but love for Kelly. But I think this was a bite too big for her.
Yep.
And I think that she's been encouraged to run. And I think, like many black people, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the feeling that many black voters and many black people in the black political establishment have about the browning of black political power.
The browning of black political power, yes.
Look,
I think there is something to be said. But you want to know what's very interesting? I think when we held the candidate forum, I think most of the candidates were trying to make a case that, to be an effective congressional leader and representative, you have to be there for a long time. And I honestly think that Rashida can be in Congress for as long as she wants to be in Congress. I don't think it's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to effectively unseat her.
Can I also admit my bias? I'm sitting here in the Stoudemire Wellness Hub, and just behind you, there is a symbolic check for $1,787,725.
Who appropriated that?
That Rashida Tlaib secured for our community. And that is over $15 million of community project grants that she brought home to her community. Nobody was bringing money home like that.
And one of the things, we talked about this at the 13th Congressional District Candidate Forum that we did a couple weeks ago. One of the things that I'm most interested in is candidates that can do that, who's going to bring home the bacon. But also, when we talk about housing policy, we wanted to talk to her about opportunity zones in 2017 and 2018, and about housing justice in Detroit. We wanted to talk about the foreclosure crisis, and she set up the congressional hearing and brought it here with Congressman Al Green from Texas and others. So being able to have her both speak the language of what the hood wants, as Orlando is saying, and also be able to bring home the bacon means that she'll be in office as long as the people, she does right by the people. That is essentially what we're looking for.
And that's her strong suit. Her nobody is beating her in the constituent services game. And she shows up. Yes. I don't know, and she manages to make it to DC for every important vote. And but she was just here. She was just here 10 minutes ago. I don't know how she does it.
One time I saw her in the airport at the Delta. And she was in the Sky Lounge. I was like, man, you really out here moving.
She be moving. We got a little bit of breaking news out of Cranes, Detroit. The Michigan GOP is calling the Republican primary for Tudor Dixon, former conservative media host and friend to former President Donald Trump.
Well,
and so it looks like Governor Gretchen Whitmer will go up against Tudor Dixon in November.
Yeah. I mean, the field is really diverse. You have one Trump lover after another Trump lover after another Trump
very
lover.
diverse.
And they run, their whole platform is, I love Trump more than you do.
I love Trump. He's still the president.
He's still the president.
Yes.
Election denial is what they're saying. I think that the Michigan Republican Party is embarrassing, to say the least. And so I really don't care who they put up. I think that it would be ridiculous to support them. The people who are part of that election group have specific desires to disenfranchise black voters in Detroit and in the rest of Michigan.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to protect the vote.
These are people who are already plotting how to stop counting down at the Huntington place. I think that's the new name for it.
Yeah. Oh, but Jocelyn Benson released a statement today that, you know, if there are any disruptions, folks are getting arrested and prosecuted. Some more news out of BridgeDetroit.com to our conversation about the 12th congressional district. Rashida Tlaib has a strong lead in the 12th district Democratic primary over Detroit clerk Janice Winfrey. Tlaib has 57% of the vote compared to Winfrey's 25%. But there's a lot of votes to be counted. Only 10% are in as of 9 p.m. So
we missing 90% of
we're missing 90%. But right now, Rashida's leading. Yeah.
Oh my
and
God.
So there are some guardrails set up at Huntington Place. Our reporter Malachi Barrett is tweeting live right now from Bridge Detroit, from the BridgeDetroit.com page on Twitter, just letting folks know how many challengers there are. There's a screen that has the names there. That wasn't there in 2020.
No,
that was not there. And it is heavily guarded by security and police.
Yeah.
But you know what I think about is in 2020, it was 2020. I don't get my pandemic years straight, so you have to excuse me.
Pandemic years are so confusing.
It's still 2020. It is not so. But at the presidential election, when they were at the counting board, keep in mind that one of the candidates for governor who did not really make it onto the ballot was in charge of protecting people at Huntington Place, and said he did not stop these violent atrocities because they had freedom of speech. The exact same freedoms that were denied Detroit will breathe.
Did nothing.
And the contradictions there was one group of people was trying to stop the vote, and the other group of people was trying to demand change and equity. So
let's not even give him any airtime.
There was an article this morning from Donna and Orlando from Politico, and so the strategy that's happening right now with some of the folks that are at Huntington, from the right, is that they're going to try to disrupt the count, by any means necessary. Call the 911. They're using this as a test case. So we've got folks down there from our constellation of organizations just trying to see what's happening and monitor the situation. It appears to be calm right now, but
it's only the beginning. And another update out of BridgeDetroit.com, 37,000 absentee ballots have been processed so far in the city of Detroit.
That's about right.
And so, hey,
that's about right.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. It's usually 48, 50.
Yeah. All right, so there's a lot more coming up on Authentically Detroit. We have some guests coming up, and we're going to talk about the state senate race between Marsha Bullock and Mallory. What's Mallory's last name?
McMurrow.
And we're going to talk a little bit about resident experience at the polls and the 13th congressional race. We haven't talked about that. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Queen and Slim.
Queen E and Queen Slim.
We'll be right back, y'all.
Two queens.
All right, welcome back to Authentically Detroit. I am happy to introduce the two co-chairs of the Lower East Side Action Plan and Project Coalition, Queen Edythe Ford and Queen Brenda Butler. Y'all give it up. First off, Queens. The Queens are in the building and we feel so privileged. How are the both of you?
Fantastic. We're fantastic and we are excited.
Listen, y'all are gonna wanna check this thing out when we announce it, especially after we have this conversation with them. But be on the lookout for the Queen and Slim podcast coming to the platforms near you, okay? Because it's coming. Hey, so happy you guys are here. It's election day here in the state of Michigan, but you all are residents on the east side of the city of Detroit. Did y'all vote today?
Yes, we did.
All right.
Definitely.
So, Edythe, tell me about your experience at the polls today.
Well, I'm going to tell you about my experience. I was excited to go. I wanted to go in person this time. I was like the 5th person there. And
What time was that? You were number 5 at what
like
time?
8 o'clock a.m.
8 a.m. Okay.
And the machine didn't work to count my vote. How is the machine broke when the door is open?
So what happened? Did they just take your ballot? What happened?
They told me to put my ballot in the box, and later they would scan it. But immediately I called down to the election clerk's office, and I also called my city council person to let them know, because that discourages people from voting. And with all the different things that's going on, that's really unacceptable. Like, we had months to get prepared and make sure that our voting machines were working. Those are the things that kind of discourage my neighbors from wanting to go vote, and it adds to the frustration and the tension in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Brenda, how was your experience at the polls today?
My experience was great. I went to vote about 5:15 this evening, and I was number 55 to cast my vote. There was no one waiting when I arrived. I went in, cast my vote. Oh, it was a little hiccup. The pen didn't mark, the marker didn't work.
I know, I had a Sharpie in mine. Yeah, they had an extra Sharpie. Yeah.
So
Y'all got a marker and Sharpie. I got a big pen.
I had a little Sharpie.
Oh, I had a
yeah.
Sharpie.
Oh no, y'all
We're bougie over here in our neighborhood.
We bougie in Lafayette Park,
That's
baby.
right.
Why y'all dogging us at precinct 1?
Don't do it.
I'm
Don't
not
do
dogging
it.
you. I
Don't
didn't
do it.
make that machine not work.
Not just dogging me. It's the people
Share the
that put an
Sharpies.
ink pen down here. I need a Sharpie.
I
You know
that's
what? I really
right.
want. I want to hear from the two of you. Why is this election so important? Like, what's at stake in this election for you, Brenda?
what's at stake for me is everything. Everything economically. It's not equitable. I was very disappointed in the candidates' forums that I attended, because it seems like it was very little that they spoke about what we really need. So I was.
What candidate forum are you talking about? Or what candidate race? The 13th district?
The 13th congressional district race, I was very disappointed.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
I was more disappointed because there was too many of them in the race. That was number one.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That
They
was
need
just
to-
that was too much, and there was no message. There was no real message, and we have too many issues facing our communities that a young teenager in high school could have laid out the issues 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just out of one household.
But you know, I heard some candidates speaking to some of the issues. I think the challenge is that when you speak to some of the issues, do you have credibility in your experience, your history, that people believe you will deliver on some of what you're saying? I did hear some good things at our forum, but I don't know that people trusted the candidates to carry out those good things, and there was some inconsistency. Did you hear anything good, or is it the fact that you didn't hear anything good, or that you didn't have full trust in any of the candidates to deliver on the good things that you heard?
What I'm saying when I say the message that I heard from the candidates is that there was no history of them already being on the front line with these issues already, that they could give me their experience.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then just knowing who they are, and I'm a very informed political person, that they just didn't bring anything to me.
Yeah, because I kind of heard, like, one candidate really strongly said, I've been on the front lines, but then it was like, what's your platform?
Right.
And there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Right,
And then
right.
you had other candidates who had not been on the front lines, but had better platforms. So it's like you didn't have the combination of somebody who'd been on the front lines and was bringing content. Is that what you're hearing?
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean by the front line. It's like with our water portability and with our water shutoffs, and even with the United Nations saying in this to our state, maybe I think around 2014, that water was a human right. And John Conyers, God bless his soul, I marched
Can you
downtown.
repeat that question?
Say that again?
Go ahead. She's just joking. Go ahead.
You know, he asks, John Conyers, every time he asks the question, when you ask him a question, he said,
Can
can
you
you
repeat
repeat
that?
that question?
No, I'm talking about his further.
You're talking about his dad.
His
we know.
father.
We know.
John Conyers walked in the street down Woodward Avenue with us about water was a human right. Some of these candidates, I've never seen them in the street with us or them leading something. So how can I trust what you say when I haven't seen you do anything?
Yeah.
Point taken. Edythe, talk a little bit about what's at stake for you in your neighborhood with this election.
What's at stake for me is housing situations, blight. They had a proposal on there for the Wayne County jails, which no one ever came to talk to us about.
Yeah.
Wanting to increase people's property tax to $70 more per year, while I'm on the front lines, trying to keep people in their homes because they were overcharged and over-assessed property tax. It was insensitive. It wasn't thought out well. And on top of it, they want like $45 million. We voted for that before. What did you do with it?
That was Wayne County.
That was Wayne, I'm talking about Wayne County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Wayne County jails. What did you do with it? Are you using that money to help rehabilitate people to keep them out of jail? No explanation of what's going on with that. When people go to jail for petty crimes in our community, it hurts the family. They can't pay their bills. Now they have a record. What are they? I was very disappointed with that. Very disappointed.
So what would it take to get a queen to be on the ballot? What would it take
Ooh,
to
I
get a
love this
queen
question.
to run?
Okay, I'm gonna just tell you flat out, Donna, I do not wish to be a politician. I wish to always stay in my community and serve and educate and train my neighbors.
Right, I get that. But I guess my question is, you know, when you look at the track record of Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, when you look at the track record of State Senator Stephanie Chain, they served and then they ran. And the question is, what would it take to get a queen, if not these two queens, although you guys are highly qualified, to get a queen to run? Do we need a queen on the ballot since we didn't have one this time? What would it take? Edythe.
We training up the queen,
All right.
but I don't want to be.
I hear you. But I haven't heard Miss Ford respond to that, however.
I'm not sure how to get a queen on the ballot because a queen's work is best done by not being influenced by politics and things like that.
Right. So then we end up in situations where people aren't satisfied because people who think like them and do like them are on the ballot.
Yeah.
Because people who think like them and do like them don't think that they are the right people for electoral politics. And I think that's the challenge that we face, especially in our community. And I say with our community, I mean among black people. we were talking about this earlier around the fact that there is this conservative orthodoxy that is, about black wealth, it's about, strong black men, it's about anti-choice to some extent, it's about anti-LGBTQ to some extent, and these are the people who decide who runs. And if you look at who's running, you don't have people who are forceful advocates for the kinds of issues that many progressive candidates who are not black are running on. And so I think the challenge for us, and I'm not saying those two queens, there are others, but the question I think for the East Side is what would it take to get a queen and or a real king on the ballot?
Grooming them. We are grooming them as you speak, Donna.
We have to groom them, and the next thing, we have to put our money behind them.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing I would add too.
We always play about the money. It costs money to get in these positions, and we can run and do everything else we want to do, but we need to put our 5s, 10s, nickels, and fews together and put our money into a candidate that is going to represent us.
Yeah. The thing I was going to say is Miss Brenda lifted up, my vision is never to be in front of the camera. It's how do you be behind the camera, how do you train it, how do you develop. But I do think when we don't put ourselves, or we don't think of it could be people like me, it could be people like you, or whoever, not saying that that's our situation, but then we saying to folks that it's got to be this sort of picture perfect person from a picture perfect lifestyle that should only run. So while I don't think I want to be an elected official, I do know that what you're saying is 100% right. We got to be able to push our people who don't have the shiniest backgrounds, who don't have all the well-polished backgrounds or whatever, who have real life experience. We got to be able to push those folks up to the front to be able to.
Is there something to be said about? And I know, I think none of us on this panel want to be in elective office, but is there some weight to being called upon by a community to say, hey, we're calling you to do this. We are asking of you to do this. We need you to do this. Is that, will any of you consider that?
I think there needs to be. I think that a friend of mine was trying to convince me to run, and he said some people run for office because they want to do something, and some people run for office because they want to be something. And you're the kind of person who will run for office because you want to do something. So my hypocritical self is now charging Edythe and Brenda with the responsibility for doing something.
That's why we need Queen Donna running, because we would be beating the streets for her, for
Here
real.
Here we go.
Mayor of the city of Detroit, and then Congress.
I think there is something to be said when the community is calling on you to run for these elective office positions. And if there was a serious call put out for me to run for office, I would have to think about it.
So
It wouldn't be
Orlando.
No, I'm just saying. No, don't do that.
What would it take to take the East Side Prince and make him
the Fresh Prince? No,
Fresh Prince.
Fresh in front of that Prince.
On the East Side. That's right.
Stay fresh now. I got my 6s on all night.
That sounds like a tone mixtape. I'm the Fresh Prince of the East Side.
King Orlando.
Man.
Yes, Orlando, I would vote for you.
Yes.
Listen, I want to allow you guys an opportunity to, leave our listeners with some inspiring words. You two are bedrocks, not only for the LEAP Coalition and the work that MAC Development and Eastside Community Network and other stakeholders in the LEAP district are doing, but for the Eastside. You guys are amazing ambassadors. And so people look to you, and they look to hear your voice, and they look to hear your guidance. What do you have to say to Detroiters tonight? Edythe.
I say, hold on, change is coming. It is time to let your voice be heard. A democracy includes everyone, even the people that we aren't comfortable with. And we need to lift those voices up. I believe in going door to door. I'm at the liquor store. I'm in the streets, and I want to hear what you have to say. We want to be the voice for the voiceless, and we want you to feel empowered to speak up and run your city and ask for the things you need and demand them. Because this is one thing I hear from people. oh, I don't pay taxes. Oh, I'm on this. Yes, you have a voice. All of us pay taxes. Even if you don't file taxes, you pay taxes. These people work for you. Learn how to hold them accountable or they have to go. And in the words are too short, it is money in the ghetto. We got to put our money behind people that are running in the office and stop playing. And it costs $1 million to become mayor. We got $1 million in the hood.
And that's a whole other conversation. We need to take money out of politics.
Together. And let's do this, y'all.
Queen Brenda, what you got to say to Detroit tonight?
Queen Slim, sir.
Yes, get right.
I'm sorry, Queen Slim. I want to get the intro right. I'm sorry.
What I like to say to my Detroit neighbors and surrounding cities of Detroit is, let's get ready, people. Change is coming. Our young people, I started out in this as a young person at 14 years old. I have dedicated myself from this day forward to be on the grounds with the Detroit Action Group. And that is a group of young people in this city that are willing to learn about how this country runs, and they are willing to learn about economic justice. And I am here to teach them. I am here to be beside them, answer any questions that they have. So 2024, we are going to have some dynamic candidates. So any of my neighbors out there that have your young adults, your grandkids or your kids between the ages of 18 and 25, 18 and 30, I'm asking you to have your kids to join Detroit Action so that we can pool our candidates together and be ready for 2024. All right.
And this is why they're going to make a great podcast.
I know, right? Exactly. I cannot wait for their podcast. But one more thing. Earlier this evening, I asked Branden if it made sense for the Detroit Action to be part of the LEAP coalition. What do you say, my queens?
Certainly.
Heck yeah, I'm tired. Come on, take over. I need you to tell me what to do. I will go out here and cut up for you, okay?
This the best peer pressure I done seen. Y'all got me on camera, on podcast.
Oh, Donna good for that. Yeah, she's going to get the commitment.
In the back room first, though. I prepped him. Listen,
we want what you want. And we got what you got.
That's right.
Let's do this thing together.
All right, y'all. The Queen and Slim podcast is coming to a platform near you. Until then, y'all give it up for Queen Edythe and Queen Slim. We will be right back. All right, welcome back to Authentically Detroit. Joining us is Daivon Reader, staff person at Eastside Community Network. Y'all give it up for him.
What up, Detroit?
I want to remind you, Orlando, of when we met.
Tell that story, Donna.
I want to remind you of when we met Daivon. We met Daivon when he was running for the 4th District City Council, and we had him on our council series. And do you remember what I said to him at the end of our interview?
We had to edit it out. Yes.
What did I say? Daivon, do you remember what I said?
Yeah, I remember.
First off, he was so impressive. This is why you said it.
I said he was so impressive, hitting all the issues. And I said, Daivon, if you're looking for a job, come to ECN.
That was the interview right there.
But he was already working for one of Donna's colleagues in the Detroit 21. I said, we can't air that.
So that's the only time we've edited anything else was him editing me poaching from a colleague.
But hey, look how everything worked out. Daivon is here. What's up, man?
What's up? I'm doing great. What up, though, Detroit? I think about that every day I walk in. I was like, Donna really, like, in the middle of the interview, I was like, even when she said that, I was like, I don't know.
Daivon, did you vote today?
I did vote today.
All right, tell us about your experience at the polls.
It was great. I always love voting, though. I just like to get out and just see the people go to my pole, and then my pole is right down the street from my house, so I get to see my neighbors and talk to my neighbors. Jokingly, one of them was like, "You ain't on the ballot today, are you?" And I'm just like, "Nah, not this time."
We were talking a little bit earlier, Donna, about building a bench and building queens and building kings. What do you see in the future? And princes. What do you see in the future for this guy?
Well, I think that one of the challenges in running for office is building the track record where people know you. One of the ways that Letitia Johnson won is people actually knew her. They knew her because she was in the community. She was a sustainability fellow. She showed up at all of the meetings.
And that's not the fact that she ran previously. It's the work that she put in the community superseded all that. I think that's like the key distinction. Is like some people believe that if I don't win this time, I'm just gonna keep running and keep running and keep running. And really, it's about like doing all the things that Donna said about like being in the community, showing face, and being on the front lines.
Right.
That we're talking about.
And one of the things, she came in as an unfunded fellow. And as an unfunded fellow, she worked with one of the funded fellows and Brenda Butler to work on a project. And in so doing, she met people outside of the neighborhood where she lives and parts of the district where she also won. So I think that what we want to see is somebody with the ideals of a Daivon Reader and the experience and connections of a Letitia Johnson reaching for those offices. And I think that certainly I saw something because I offered you a job in the middle of a podcast. But I was like, yeah, you were hitting all of the notes. Environment, yes. You were talking about youth and all of the issues and housing and all of the issues that are so germane to us in our community. And to hear a young black man speaking in such broad terms about the needs was very moving to me then.
It was two things. When I was growing up and getting involved in politics and just seeing the community, I would always see Letitia around. And when I decided to run, I'm like, Letitia's running. I'm like, this is going to be so, like, I had that imposter syndrome for a long time because it was like, how am I going to compete to really which one of my idols? And then as well, like, when it came out to the final election, I had went to Letitia's party and she pulled me aside. I was like, don't worry, just keep going. Like, it's going to be your turn. Just keep going. Just stay focused. And that meant a lot to me personally. And then I even say this all the time, but I wish I would have worked at ECN before then, or been here before then and been a part of this community, because that would have been that would have been a game changer for me, honestly.
I think that the work that you are doing now and the work that you will embark upon will help build the stage and the platform for you to be able to, if you should choose to do so, or if you are called on to do so, to be able to run in the future. I want to talk a little bit about this intergenerational conversation that we were having a little bit earlier at the Stakeholder Advisory Group meeting. And, one of the things that tends to happen is generational battles, right? The baby boomers are mad at the Xers, and the Xers don't like the millennials, and the millennials side-eyeing Gen Zs. And it's so easy for everybody to blame, each generation about the shortcomings of, policy and what's not being done because nobody's listening or nobody's voting. Talk a little bit about why it is so important for folks within generations to just listen to each other.
I think the first step is to bridging that gap is listening, right? Because I was just sharing with the gentleman back there, like, I can learn something from you and you can learn something from me, right? We all don't have the answers to everything, because if we all had the answers, if they had the answers, they would have fixed it. If we had the answers, we would have fixed it. So it's like us listening is what's going to help us. And then, like, we can say this is about other parties, other demographics, other cultures. Those other cultures aren't divided like that. Those other parties aren't divided like that. They're coming to the table with one clear head. Like somebody, Ms. Donna said it earlier, like, it might sound super crazy, but they're a united front on that super crazy idea, which makes it work. So if we have a conversation amongst each other and we make sure we get on the same page, like, no matter what we do, we have to work together. And if we don't have the ability to sit down and just listen, which is a part of communicating, is just listening. Yeah, so like that's the first step to us, like, taking back control of our city.
Why do we have that tendency?
What, to like just not listen to younger folks?
Yeah.
I think that there is always this desire to hold on to your youth. You know, I think that as you get older, you don't really consider yourself old, you just are older, right? And so letting go of the reins of power seems to be a real difficult challenge for Americans at this time. We have 80-year-olds in office and in leadership positions, late 70-year-olds, octogenarians and septuagenarians running this country. And it's because of this, I think, desire to hold on to youth. And the reality is we're supposed to move through life stages, right? You become the wise elder who's supposed to be feeding and plowing into younger people. But when people refuse to do that, we end up in a very broken system. I think that people look at millennials as kids, not understanding that Gen Zers are actually kids. And Gen Zers look at millennials as middle-aged, not understanding there are 30-year-olds who are millennials. And I just think that there's this intergenerational fight that we have to get beyond. And so what I try to do in my very end of the baby boom stage, I was like the last year.
You sure? You're not comfortable in baby boom? Okay.
Baby boomers, right? And then after that, there was
So
Gen
you're a boom
X.
Xer.
I'm a boom Xer, right?
Okay.
But when I look at it, I have a responsibility, I think, to feed and to support young people who are the future and who are the present and who bring the kind of voice and the kind of activism that we need.
I mean, look at the demographic makeup of the staff at Eastside Community Network, Donna Davis. And I think for one of the longest running community development organizations here in the city of Detroit, the staff is a young and vibrant staff. And I know that there was some intentionality behind that. Why was that important to you?
Because young people bring ideals, young people bring energy. When I was 22 years old, I was trusted to help lead an organization. Somebody believed in me when I was young. When I was 32 years old, I came to Warren County Development Coalition, and a couple years later, Maggie made me deputy director. I was in my 30s. She trusted me and gave me a whole lot of influence over a whole lot of things that make no sense when I think back on it. When I worked here, I remember Charlonda Buckman was 22 years old, and I promoted her to program director. And at the time, she was Charlonda Gillis, because I could give her anything and she could get it done. And so I believe that young people have all of the talent, the energy, and the vision for what's needed. I think that a lot of times what happens is people overvalue their experience, and your experience can work for or against you. Sometimes your experience, you've practiced the wrong things for so damn long, you don't know how to stop. Okay?
Yeah.
And sometimes you're so used to doing some things a certain way, like the way to be successful when I was here in 1992, 1993, 1994, 1970, it wouldn't work anymore because the whole city is different. The whole community is different. I don't have my fingers on the pulse of that. The way that I maintain my connection, and I would dare say the way our queens, who can quote too short, retain our connection, is we stay connected to young people who are still part of that vital force. So I'm excited to have young people lead, excited to have young people give voice, and to be part of our organization. I think the real challenge for all of us in community development now is to get them to show up at our meetings and to get them to be more involved in our work.
I agree with that.
How do we make space for intergenerational dialogue? I mean, Branden, you also run a very young organization. Yeah. Daivon, you're part of a young organization, and you are a young person. Are you guys brainstorming and thinking up ideas on how to engage the generations? Like, how do we bring everybody together for, this really important dialogue?
We try to do a lot of that. I think we think of ourselves as a multi-generational organization. And I was joking with Miguel earlier about, when I worked for a different organization that has its roots in Detroit Action that operated in the soup kitchens, there was a lot of tension around just the ideas of working with young people, listening to young people, listening to different ideas and diversion ideas. You know, I'm 35, and I think at the time when I was 30 or even 29, you know, I was still being looked at as like a baby to a lot of the folks who were, you know, we were trying to like organize with. And so I think the reality is that it's messy. It is like a thing that like is hard, but it requires, sort of like what Daivon was saying earlier, is like requires you just to like listen and like being able to like not just say and not just expect like young people to listen to you, but also being willing to listen to them and like have that push, be willing to be in relationship, in a principal relationship to have that back and forth. And a lot of organizations, a lot of movements just ain't into that. And so like I commend y'all at ECN for being willing to like take chances on young people, but then also to like have that spirit of like nurturing and pouring in and, you know, building structure.
Yeah. Daivon, what was at stake for you in this election?
I think it was a lot. I think the city's going to change. The city is changing already right in front of us, and I think if we want to have a buy-in in the city as young people in the future of the city, this election is really what's going to determine that. Like the next representative, the next people who represent us and have our true intentions, our true concerns at heart are the people in this election right now. And then personally, I know so many women that have been affected by the different laws that's being changed. And that directly affects me. Those are people I care about, people that I plan on having a family one day. I plan on having a little girl, and I don't want to have that constant fear that she doesn't have the opportunity to choose what she wants to do with her body. So these people that we are choosing now, we're electing now, that we are voting for now, they have the say-so. They will have that power to represent, stand up for us in those doors and in those rooms that we won't be able to be in.
Yeah.
So the Wayne County is not reporting any election results, but the City of Detroit clerk is, and I have an update.
All right, breaking news. Breaking news, everybody.
So
what are you seeing?
With 49.44 of votes counted, the top vote getter is Shri Thanadar with 5,475 votes. The second is Adam Ollier with 3,906 votes. Third is Portia Roberson at 2,249 votes. And then we have Sherry McPhail, John Conyers, Sherry Day Ganyogo, Sam Riddle, and if you can believe it,
read those numbers
Griffey.
too. So,
okay,
Sherry Day Ganyogo got.
So let me go person by person. Sherry McPhail had 1,625 votes. John Conyers had 1,459 votes. Sherry Gay Ganyogo has 1,256 votes. Sam Riddle has 524 votes. Michael Griffey, 396 votes. Lori Rutledge.
That's what he said he made an hour though, I thought, right?
I hate you.
That is literally what he said he made an hour.
Literally. Stop it. You stop that.
Those numbers are a little surprising.
Lori Rutledge had 116 votes, so I think all those beautiful Michael Griffey signs, I think this kind of speaks to his political relevance in the 13th district. He might have to move.
There we go.
And then it's not really funny because I'm not laughing because I'm kind of, whatever about this outcome.
And this is 49% of the precincts being reported right now.
49% of the precincts vote.
It's a little disappointing too.
So another race that's interesting is the state senate 3rd district race. Stephanie Chang, current state senator, is leading that race with 5,327 votes, says the city of Detroit clerk, followed by Toy New Reeves, who was endorsed by former state representative Alberta Tinsley Talabi, another queen here on the east side, with 1,099 votes. All right, another state race, representative in the state legislature in the 5th district. Joe Tate, incumbent, is leading with 2,215 votes, followed by Tony Mua with 440 votes. And the Wayne County Executive race right now is reporting Warren Evans, the incumbent, at 26,632 votes, with Muhammad Alim trailing, really trailing at 2,543 votes. It looks like Raphael Washington, current sheriff for Wayne County, has a comfortable lead at 14,553 votes, while Joe Merriweather is trailing at 6,409 votes, and Walter Epps at 7,031 votes.
And in a surprise, Brian Banks is leading Tim Killeen. Brian Banks has 1,338 votes to Tim Killeen's 1,094 votes.
Tim Killeen and Brian Banks. I can't see. Oh, I see it now. All right. Yeah, and so we're going to continue to, and these are unofficial results with 49% of the precincts reporting so far. We're on for another 30 minutes, guys, and so we will continue to bring you as many updates as we get them.
I'm trying to see what's going on in the race between Marshall Bullock and
Mallory McMorrow.
Mallory, but I don't see it in here. It might be in the Oakland County because, so we'll keep looking for that.
We will keep looking for that. But we want to thank Daivon Reeder for joining us on the podcast. You got to come back, Daivon.
I will come back anytime you want me to, man. I love talking to you and Donna. I just have a ball every time. I feel like I told you, I feel like a fanboy every time I get the chance to sit on a panel with Donna and talk to her. It's just so amazing.
She's pretty amazing.
Yeah, she's a great leader, great person to talk to. And then I just enjoy conversating with you. You always pick my brain every time I get a chance to talk to you. So
love it.
Anytime.
All right, y'all.
All right.
We'll be right back.
All right. Welcome back to our special election night coverage, where we are having a watch night party. I don't know how festive it's going to be before the night ends, but we are watching the night and the results roll in. We are joined right now by two ECM board members, Miguel from the Mount Elliott Business and Community Alliance. Did I get that right, Miguel?
MEBCA Association.
I knew that there was an A. MEBCA. And Graig Donnelley from Proxy Detroit. Welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Woo! Welcome!
So both of you are very involved in our community. Miguel, you have been a long-standing member in many ways in the community. One of your projects was helping to develop Kiwanis Park.
Yes.
And you had a concert there the night of the Anita Baker concert.
Oh, man, it was a phenomenal night. We had Bill Myers, who was the featured entertainer, who was one of the key musicians from Burke's Place. And we had a great turnout. We had vendors and everything. We're looking forward to our next concert, which is the fourth Friday in August. The band will be announced soon, but it is a spectacular way to spend the Friday evening on the lawn. You can bring your food or you can buy from the vendors. And the folk came out and just really enjoyed themselves. Very safe environment, very family-friendly environment, and couldn't ask for a better community event.
All right, so that's a great space, outdoor space that our very own Orlando Bailey, when he was here, helped develop. That was one of his biggest crisis points when I was here, was conflict between artists over who got to finish the work.
And I tell you, that was such
We got through it, didn't we?
Yes, we did. It was such an appreciated canvas for what you see in the park today. So the art was just the beginning of a lot of conversations about how to use the space. So I think since you were initially there, we've actually added a mound around the art, have added plants, and actually we got another grant, which is through ECN, through one of your projects, one of the fellows, who we were able to put in bike racks. We were actually able to put in a grill and a picnic table, which is exciting. So again, that's a catalyst for other new things that are coming, and people are looking at the park a lot differently. In fact, the night after our concert, someone had a big event there. We had 4 tents and a bunch of other vendors and things going on. So people are looking at that park as a very unique space because it's not Belle Isle, it's not a big park, it's just right for the community.
Yeah, it just reminds us, even as we're looking at these election results, that we do have some power to create change on our own.
Yes, we do.
Greg, I want to bring you in because you have been a change maker in helping design community space, and you were one of the people who was leading the redesign of our space to become the new Stoudemire Wellness Hub. Can you talk a little bit about your vision and what's going on with the project?
Yeah, so I've got the pleasure, both as a board member and also working in some other capacities with ECN, to help transform this space, which is already amazing, and so many beautiful things happen here every day. And I think what we've realized early on, and supported by some great leaders like I guess our soon-to-be former U.S. House Rep Rashida Tlaib, that brought almost $2 million to the community to transform this space, is that we needed to get better about making people aware of all the great things that happen here. And maybe one of the things I'm most excited about is that we're going to open up the building to the street in a new way. The fence that's right at Connor, that's going to come down, and the building's going to be more accessible to people who are walking and biking. And
I don't think that was public. I think you just broke some news.
Yeah.
The wrought iron fence in front of Eastside Community Network is coming down.
Right, we're just really, really excited. That's been a priority since I've been here.
Somebody got stuck behind that wrought iron fence.
After we had the 13th Congressional District Forum, somebody actually got stuck inside our building. But, as a community development organization, we want the community to feel welcome. We don't want the community to have to be buzzed into a gate. That just feels wrong. It's what I inherited and something I've wanted to correct. And so Greg has been such a big advocate in helping me with this. That's coming soon. What does this election mean to you, Miguel? What does it mean in terms of all your work in the community? What are you looking forward to, and what are you concerned about?
I'm concerned with the fact that I went to a number of pre-discussions, forums, and what I heard was status quo. I didn't hear a lot of new or innovative ideas to move us forward. So I'm very concerned that we're going to get folk in who don't have an agenda to move us forward. And as you talked about having new ideals and young folk, I definitely didn't get an idea that there are individuals who are looking to embrace young people and have their ideals heard and implemented in a way that's going to make the city grow.
All right. What say you, Greg?
So I want to pick up on that thread a little bit and say that I also have some really mixed feelings about some energy and excitement that I see in young people in the city and around the city versus what I'm going to call probably like low-key voter suppression. So I live in Grosse Pointe Park. Just the other side of the infamous barriers along Alter Road. And I live in the densest, most diverse part of that city. This year, all of the polling locations in Grosse Pointe Park, which is not a big municipality, but I think it's important, like every city is. All of the polling locations in the whole city were moved to one of our private waterfront parks that on any other day but Election Day, you have to show a pass to get into.
Yeah, you can't get in there.
Yeah. And what does that say to folks who are not used to feeling welcome in that spot? And that's just one way that I feel like we're seeing that happen, I've been hearing stories of polling locations throughout the city of Detroit that have been shifted around. I've been hearing stories like even Edythe talked about, the machine that counts your votes was broken at 8 a.m. this morning where she went to vote. So I think I am very inspired by what we see from a lot of young people, like standing up and giving voice to things that are important to them. But also, I feel like there's a lot of entrenched power structures that are trying to keep us from changing and suppress things. So I've got some big concerns.
Can we get your reaction on some of what the election results that are coming in from the clerk's office with 49% of the precincts reporting right now that Sri Tanadar is leading in the 13th congressional race pretty comfortably at 5,475 votes, trailed by State Senator Adam Ollier at 3,906 votes. How are you all feeling about how these early results?
I have mixed emotions. I think that one of the things I noted with Sri Tanadar is he used a lot of his own money, and he used it in a way that I wonder how that has played into him having a lead. When the person who he is opposing did not have the same sort of war chest in terms of publicity and things like that. So I think that's a big difference. And I'm wondering, did he sort of buy his space by pumping so much money into his election?
Yeah.
And I'll say even beyond Shree's just outrageous spending that, a lot of the other candidates didn't have access to those kinds of resources. There was also a lot of other money thrown into this particular race, and I think we should be paying attention to and advocating for how we fund elections, because
can we have that conversation?
But we had a
because
lot
he bought
of,
it. He's buying it.
But a lot of people, a lot of observers were very concerned about 9 candidates in the race. 8 candidates who are African American against 1 candidate who's Indian American, and said, we split the black vote so much. Sri Thanandar does not have a majority of votes in this race.
No.
He is winning because the black vote is largely split. Now they're saying that, but also I looked at some data, some polling data that showed that Sri was winning more decisively among black voters than anybody else. So black voters tend to trust Sri. Is that because of him spending the money, his messaging? What is happening here?
So I don't think that any of those pieces are mutually exclusive, though. I think the fact that it's 8-9 candidates in the race that are black. I think the fact that you were talking about Graig, where it's he's runs puts $5 million of his own money into an election, is able to buy up airwaves and then be unaccountable to folks is also a piece of it too. I think what was the number that you just showed me, Orlando?
About 6,100.
6,100. Votes would be for a combined Adam Ollier, Portia Robeson candidate if they were just one person instead of 2 separate voters. So I do think when we talk about elections, you can't leave one piece of the pie out. It is how do we deal with money in politics? What do we do about unaccountable billionaires and dark money, and the internal conversations what do we do about black candidates? What do you do about progressive candidates and making sure that they show up in these fights?
I don't think there's any interest on part of anybody in the political spectrum, especially the political elite, who's really, really interested in election campaign finance reform.
Yes.
Well, you know why? Because some people have figured out ways to graft and get money off of that.
Right, but even folks who run on that and then they get in office and we don't see anything.
It's about maintaining the power structure that's there.
Do you think if we had a dynamic candidate in the 13th congressional district that they could have broken through? We had a voter forum on July 16th here. And a lot of people walked away gee, I still don't know who to vote for. There was no breakout star. I mean, let's just be honest, there wasn't one. Some people were for this candidate and that candidate. Now, Sri did not show up to the second forum, but the reality is he didn't need to. But I'm wondering whether you think part of it is he's not running against anybody dynamic. And my next question is for you, Miguel, and that is, what would it take to get you to run for the 13th congressional district?
It would take a miracle.
He said it'll take a miracle.
I think that I'm very concerned about getting involved in politics in terms of some of the deals that you have to make in order to get certain things done. I'm not willing to compromise that way.
That's what I keep hearing. And when I say I keep hearing myself tell myself that same thing. Those of us who are in the fight to do good, we want to keep doing good, and we don't want to compromise doing good. And so we allow people who maybe are not so morally whatever, or people who are not as experienced and as embedded in the community to win. I haven't done this yet, but what about you, Branden?
In terms of running, or in terms
of running?
I've never thought. I've thought about it, but I don't think that's in the cards to me in the near future.
It has not occurred to you, so that's not a no. I have at this table Orlando and Branden saying, yes, I will possibly represent this.
I am a journalist.
He's a journalist, but
JG always has my back.
The sound.
we are so proud of you being a journalist. But I think that here's the thing. Somebody's going to have to get their hands dirty. Because if not, we're running against people like Shree. If we had somebody great, he would not win. He would not be in this position. I believe it. What do you say?
I don't think this race was absent great people.
I don't say that. Great people.
People that share our values.
But what I mean is a breakout candidate who motivates people to go out and vote.
And so, that balance of, having the right policy agenda and that charisma and work ethic to get people
and
excited.
Work history and work ethic.
Yeah.
So can I add to that? I think
Yes.
one of the things that is important is the conversation we had earlier. And so when we hold candidates accountable, and organizations like ECN have the opportunity to mobilize folk in the community to push back when the elected officials aren't doing what they're supposed to. So a person does not necessarily have to come into the office being dynamic. It's our responsibility to help them understand what they need to do and how they need to respond to the community. And that's where we have to really push hard to get people to voice their opinions and or their dissatisfaction.
I hear
with the
you.
status quo.
I hear you, Miguel. But what I also hear is we had a voter forum and people left not certain where they stood. And I know that I've been in voter forums where people have been really excited by one person who really blew them away. And I think that there are people at this table who are in Detroit. I'm not meaning to exclude you, Graig, but you are not representing Detroit. But Detroiters at this table who could blow people away. I know, I watched Orlando in the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, and I was like in tears. I was, oh my God, I'm blown away. You know what I mean? I was just in tears. I told her, I said, this is just beautiful. And I know that I've heard Branden speak to issues in such a way that has really blown me away. And Miguel, you've been at this for a long time, doing work, traveling, mentoring, doing all kinds of things people don't understand. You bring depth and also experience to the table. And I think it's going to take somebody like that to blow people away.
And I appreciate that comment, but I think one of the things that is impeding an individual is their ability to speak truth. And people don't always want you to speak truth or challenge. So when I said status quo, that's exactly what I heard at forums. I heard answers that were very middle of the road and could get people from either side.
Yeah, we
of the
had
road.
that conversation earlier. Yeah.
And I think that's very important. If you're going to run for office, I don't stand for this, I stand for this. You have to take a strong stance. You can't be middle of the road.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
And that's
know,
what we didn't see.
I think
you know
got
what
a
I
skill
found
issue here,
is
too.
that in my life, the only person who took a real strong stance was Sam Riddle. He went there, but unfortunately, he's been other places too. But one thing I've learned in my life is that people used to always tone police me, when I was younger. Oh, Donna, don't say that. Oh, you can't say that. It's like, why not? It's the truth, But one thing I found is I've, continued to become more mature, and I've become more myself, and I've said more of what I think. People like that. As it turns out, a lot of people wanted to hear that all along. I was being held back by convention.
Yes.
And I think we need to liberate more tongues and liberate more ideologies, because that's how you win voters. That's how you win the young people that we talked about earlier, who don't bother to come out and vote because they don't believe in the candidates.
Right.
So can I say something about, I think, a prototype that maybe we have in this? And I think this is a little bit of a scale issue here. So the 13th district, on purpose, is incredibly gerrymandered.
Yes.
And I think it's really hard to break through in all the places you have to break through across this district. Like, this district covers, I don't know how many different municipalities. but it's
About
huge.
19, I think 19 or 21, something like that. Yeah.
So our former, soon-to-be former representative came up in a political system in Southwest Detroit where she worked in Steve Tabachman's office. She then ran for office in one state house representing
following
that
him in
district.
his state house.
Right, and then did another one. And so when she ran for this office, she had a constituency that kept growing with her, and she had that base, and that enabled her, I think, to break through.
But she has Steve Tabachman too.
She did, for sure.
And
Yep.
Steve Tabachman is the kingmaker was the kingmaker in Southwest Detroit. We aren't making kings on the Southeast side in the same way. I think that that's also important, the fact that we're not moving that forward. I think that we can talk about differences, but we are in a recession right now. Housing prices are through the roof and people are economically struggling. And if you can't make an economic case that everybody in the 13th district has a shared interest in affordable housing, a shared interest in economic fairness, and you're talking to the Democratic Party, not to the Republican Party. You don't even have to cross the party lines in order to make that case. It seems to me as though there's a timidity. I kept hearing people say, well, you know, we've got to look at the 13th district and how do I change who I am and how I position myself for these potential white constituencies, as if somehow they don't have to pay house notes also. And I feel like there is that timidity, this fear of really standing on principle that has impacted, especially, I believe, a lot of black people running for office.
You mentioned the topic of affordable housing as a topic, and I think that's something that we can't always agree on what that is. And when we're dealing with people who are housing challenged, that means something completely different. And so we have to look at affordable housing being something
There's
for someone with low
news.
income or very, very low income, and we're talking about Social Security or SSI or SSD, a person can live on that. And we talk about affordable housing, and we have these AMIs that are out of sync with the real picture of Detroit.
And the vast majority of that affordable
All right,
housing that we're
listen,
building
guys,
is
I have a
rental.
little bit of
Yes.
breaking
It's not ownership.
news.
Yeah.
You want to hear a break?
I don't know, do we?
Adam Ollier has pulled within striking distance to Sri Thanadar.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Yes, Sri Thanadar has 9,040 votes. Adam Ollier has 8,924 votes, and Portia Roberson has 6,000.
So it's a race.
It's still a race.
So the race
And this is Detroit votes,
changing
right?
shape,
Not-
and we're
yeah.
talking about 50% precincts reporting. It's going to keep changing,
In Detroit.
guys. In Detroit.
Yeah, it's a race. So more to come. And we will have a complete election wraparound episode coming at you next week. But until then, it is time for us to sign off. We want to thank ECN board members and pillars in the community, Graig, Donnelley, and Miguel Pope, for joining us here on the podcast. Our unofficial co-host, Branden Snyder, I think you've been on.
I'm moving in. This is
I
You're-
know,
you're
right?
moving in?
No, I mean, we really appreciate you, Branden.
Yeah.
Just because you bring not just a voice, but the work behind you. And I think you've really helped us in our work.
I appreciate y'all tremendously. Both the vision of what y'all are building over here at the Stoudemire, the vision of being able to have a multi-generational organization that's vibrant and also keeps it real with the hood is like what we aspire to do. So y'all have a partner for life, from Detroit Action for me. So.
All right.
And I want to thank my board members. It's, no organization is strong without a strong board. And I really appreciate.
You're welcome.
I forgot my 3 board members because I'm sitting at a table of 3. But really, it does make a difference. No organization is stronger than its board. Everybody looks at the person who's leading the organization, but the board either gives that person permission to lead or they stop them. And we've got a great one. So thank you guys for showing up.
Shout out to y'all.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you very much.
And thanks for showing up tonight with us on this election day. This is such a special day for us.
And we want to thank our live audience. Until then, we will see you next time, everybody. And we want you to catch the wave.